Real estate rock stars, this is Aaron Amuchastegui. Hey, you've probably heard about the mastermind that we hosted in Austin over the last 4 years for all of our podcast listeners. And this last March, we had a fantastic time, a bunch of amazing speakers, and great fellowship. Well, I wanted to take some of those speaker talks that we had and release them to you guys here on the podcast so you can get the value that our members got when they were there, and also make you think about maybe joining us next year. So we've just released the dates for next year. It's February 25th through 27th, and we're only selling tickets for the next 30 or 40 days, and then we're going to lock down the orders, and so we can start, sending out the value ads for all of that. And if you end up joining the podcast mastermind, if you end up signing for the mastermind, you get to become a part of our private Facebook group, our private circle app, all sorts of referrals between different people. And then you'll also get recordings, all the recordings for the past several years of masterminds that we've had. But, just so you can hear a little bit more about kind of what you missed, get some added value just for being a listener, because I appreciate all of you guys that are here. Here is one of the clips of that, or here's one of the, 45-minute talks. I hope you guys love it.
Hey guys, so I was not going to call Aaron out, but yeah, like you said, I found out about 4 or 5 days ago that I was presenting, so I have my slides. I did picture a podium here, but there is not, so you might see these with my hands. I might put them down, we'll see. Whew, okay, how's it sound? Is it good? Okay. Yeah. Cool. So my name is Nicole Masters. My goal with my presentation today is to be as raw, as honest, and as vulnerable as possible. In the spirit of that, I can admit that I am nervous as shit right now. My heart rate is extremely elevated. So if I can just have you guys do some self-soothing breathing techniques with me, I would really appreciate it. I'm not kidding. Please stand up. I'm not kidding. Stand up. I need a... Cool. Thank you. I want to shift the energy in the room a little bit. It'll help me settle down. So we're going to do something called box breaths. We're going to do 2 of them. We're going to breathe in through our nose for 4 seconds, hold it at the top for 4 seconds, out through the mouth for 4 seconds, hold it at the bottom for 4 seconds. And we're going to do that twice. So everybody in through the nose. Hold it at the top. Out through the mouth. Hold it at the bottom. One more time. Let it out. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for doing that with me. Thank you guys. Self-soothing has been a pretty big part of my journey. At the end of this month, on March 30th, I will be 12 months without a drop of alcohol in my body, thank you. Which, as a realtor, is a tough gig. And it was this event last year was a huge spark for that. And so I have been doing a lot of breathing techniques and just things to help soothe myself. So I appreciate you guys doing that with me. All right. So how I 10x my business. So the mindset shift that I had to take on to go from $1 million to $9 million in less than a year, which I know, I'll just say, I do have some imposter syndrome when presenting, because I ask around and people in this room, people did that their first year. People are doing that, I feel like, so easily. This is a pretty big room of winners. So it can be a little intimidating to come up here and speak in this way, but it was a really big deal for me, and I had to really shift gears to get there. And if you're looking at these numbers and you're saying that's not 10x, you're correct. That's because I was using 10x based off of my commission, because really, right, that's what we do all of this for, is based off commission. So in 2023, I did $18,000 in commission, and then in gonna go back. Oh, my results aren't for a little bit, but in 2024, I did about $230,000 in commission. Thanks, guys. The applause breaks helps me move my stuff around. So my agenda today, I'm going to have real screenshots in here of conversations that I've had with clients or people who weren't my clients. So if you guys take pictures, just please don't post the ones that have screenshots, because that's personal stuff that I'm sharing just in this room. Okay. Whew. So I'm going to start with my background. This is my beautiful mother walking me down the aisle 5 years ago for my wedding. My mom is my hero, and when I thought about doing my background, I didn't want to just start with my background in real estate, I wanted to start from the very beginning because I feel like that's where all good stories are. So my mom accidentally got pregnant with me when she was 40 years old, which back in the 1990s too was like, she was basically a grandmother. And she was actually studying to take her real estate exam at the time that she got pregnant with me. And on August 20th, it was her exam due date, and instead of taking her test, she delivered a beautiful, healthy baby girl, me. And so she never did reschedule her test date. Instead, she carried a baby on her hip while raising her two already teenage children. At the time, she was married to my biological father, who physically abused her pretty mercilessly. So for the first 3 years of my life, she endured pretty intense abuse. My earliest memory is being 3 years old and being in a hospital waiting room while my mom was rolled in front of me on a stretcher covered in blood because my dad had punched her in the face and broken her nose and beaten her with frying pans. He sucks. He's a really bad dude. He went to jail that night. I don't really remember much else because I was 3 years old, but I do know that my mom left him later that same year. My brother went to live with his dad. My sister only lived with us for another year or so, so it was just me and my mom in her 40s against the world. She started all over. She married another person, a man that I would call dad, for the next 14 years until the summer before my senior year of high school. I found out he was having affairs on my mom. When I confronted him, he was too chicken shit to tell her himself, and so for the second time in my life, I watched my mom get her heart broken. She left him, and we started all over again. The reason I tell these stories is just to paint the picture of like what an absolute badass I grew up with, and watching specifically a woman not afraid to just start over and just see what it took to figure out shit on her own was really, really inspiring. To this day, my mom is still my best friend. I had the honor of having her walk me down the aisle. She's my everything. She's my inspiration. I always have felt in my gut that it was my destiny to like carry on her exam date, her real estate test date. Growing up, the only two things I ever wanted to be were either a teacher or a real estate agent. And college sucked, and teachers don't make any money, so being a real estate agent really won that dream for me. I was too nervous for a very long time to take the plunge into actually being an agent. So I finally, at the end of 2021, got my license. I was the first one done with my test, I will say. I did pass. And then in 2022, I sold my first house, and I went on to do 6 transactions my first year, which I felt pretty good about. In my market, I felt really good about that, and I was super excited to see it double the next year. And then in 2023, I sold 2 houses, and it sucked. It was not what I expected it to be, and I just felt really, really down on myself. And then I came to this mastermind last year, 2024, and I'll kind of go into that, but that's what really like kickstarted me into changing my business, which has changed my life. So I'll just go over my results quickly first. When I was asked to speak about this, and I really tried to put into words because I have won a couple of awards like in my brokerage and in my coaching group about like getting most improved, and it's been difficult to put into words what it is that I did to change that. Because you can tell by looking at my lead source breakdown, it's not like I have one main source or one main way that I'm getting all my leads. I don't pay for any leads. I just started working way fucking harder than I was working before. And that turns out it's kind of the key. You can see in my transactions, I'm pretty buyer heavy, which makes sense. Like I'm really only in my 3rd year. And then I did 217,000 GCI on my own, and then I referred out to whatever, referrals. And I made some commission from that too. So, okay, so the steps I took to get here. The very first step is to just become radically honest with myself. I actually brought my workbook from last year, and I was reviewing it when I was sitting in the airport yesterday. And when I was looking through it, one of the questions was, what do you need to do to get the results that you're wanting? And one of my answers that I wrote was become brutally honest with myself. And that is exactly what I did. I looked in the mirror and I said, what are the reasons that I am not as successful as I'd like to be? And all the answers were myself, right? I wasn't putting in the work. I wasn't trying as hard as I needed to. I felt sorry for myself, a million reasons, why I wasn't achieving the results I needed to. The great thing about being honest with yourself is most often the problem is you, right? But you are the easiest variable to change. The things that you can't change, like the market, the interest rates, the cost of living, like those aren't things that you can change. But what you can change is how hard you work and the true grit that you put in. And I just had to be honest that isn't what I was doing at that time. And then I identified the problems that I was facing, which were most problems created by myself. I found solution to the problem, and then I actually implemented. Because it's great if you do the first 3 things, but unless you actually implement what you're wanting to change, shit's not gonna change. So just going through them, my mindset, I had such a scarcity mindset. I can think visibly of the amount of times I cried when someone didn't pick me, because if I didn't get chosen to be that person's agent, I had no idea where my next deal was coming from. And I believed there was only so many people in my market that would want to work with me, that could afford a house, and if they didn't choose to work with me, then who was gonna wanna work with me? And it was just such a horrible feeling. Like I do remember my friends had asked me for some help, and I kind of just wasn't giving them very much attention. And then they said they reached out to a Zillow agent for a showing and asked me a question, and I literally typed, I don't know, ask your agent. So douchey. Like I was just being so, like I wasn't being abundant or kind. I was like pissed. I took everything personal. I thought everything was a slight against me. I was super jealous of the other agents in my market that were doing well. So jealous that I wouldn't network with them, because I just thought that the only reason they were doing well is because they were raised in that area and they had family in the area and they have kids that go to the school and they go to the church, and I didn't have any of that. My whole family is 8 hours away. I've never gotten a referral from my family. I didn't go to high school here. Like I thought that there was no way I could compete with any of these people. And just the way that I talked to myself was so unkindly. I mean, you can probably hear it in the way I'm speaking now. I woke up almost every day doing negative affirmations. I would tell myself I was a loser almost first thing every day. I woke up feeling like a fucking loser. So I treated myself like a loser. I treated my time like it didn't have any value. I let people take advantage of me. I was always willing to give out free advice, and not in an abundant way, in a very, you could feel it, I'm sure, when you were speaking to me. I'm sure I was like, it was all worked up, and I was just so anxious all the time. So what I did to go through that is I wrote myself affirmations. These are my actual affirmations. The first one I stole from Caitlin from last year. She talked about how, where's Caitlin? Over here. She talked about how 2023 was gonna be her year, and that was going to be like the difference. She set that as her password. I went home and I stole it. And every single day I said these things to myself. I would change these as I was going throughout the year. So these were a little bit of a work in progress. One of the biggest ones right here, the one about being a top producing real estate agent, I started saying that to myself. So I had one deal closed in January that was left over from the year before, and then I didn't close my first deal until May 1st. And then I went on to do 15 transactions. So for 3 months, I had to wake up every day and say, I am a top producing real estate agent, and I do the hard things that a top producing real estate agent would do. And anyone who meets me knows that I am a top producing real estate agent. That was embarrassing to say with no transactions to my name, but I knew the only way that I could become a top producing real estate agent is if I believed that I was. It's in there 3 times in one sentence. I said these things to myself every single day. I added things about being kind when I felt myself being short with my husband, and talking about how every time I had a missed opportunity, I just tried to take a lesson from it. These affirmations made a really big difference for myself. This is, my husband just went to a GoBundance event, and he shared this with me when I got back. I guess it's from a book. I haven't read it. I just really liked the quote, so I put it in here. So this is one of my real screenshots. I'll go over this in a second, so don't post this one, please. So this is, hold on one second. Like I said, I gotta move my slides. Okay. All right. Okay, so when I first started as an agent, so background on me, my husband and I house hack. So our single family house, to this day, we rent out 5 of our bedrooms. So we have 5 roommates. And we've done that for 4.5 years. And obviously, I think it makes me kind of an expert in the space. I still believe I'm probably one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to house hacking. And so I thought, obviously, that I would be the house hacking agent. I made a whole Instagram account about it. I tried everything in my power to appeal to people. Turns out most people don't want to have 5 roommates in their house. So it just wasn't a very big market, and I just tried like hell to get that market, and I couldn't get it. And you guys might even follow, it's literally househacking_masters. I have I was posting every single day. I haven't posted on there for a very long time now because I switched to just being on my personal account. But I started posting about our Airbnb. We have a 20-person Airbnb that we invested in with someone in this room. And my husband and I set that up ourselves. I was managing it in 2023, which is where I put all my energy. But I posted about it a ton because we got a lot of good engagement. It was interesting. I didn't have to sell anything. And so I just put all my energy there so much that I remember in July of 2023, I was at a friend's birthday party, and a pretty good friend of mine said, "Oh, are you still doing that agent thing? Like, I didn't even know you were still an agent." I was like, "Oh no." Everyone should know I'm an agent. Like, I need to be more obnoxious about it. And so I became a lot more obnoxious about it. And then I'm just gonna skip to the last one. Not being able to stop bragging about how busy I was, that came from a real place of insecurity. Because the Airbnb, to me, showed this level of accomplishment. Like, look, I might not be selling any deals, but like, look at this thing that we have. And so I talked about it all the time so much that I drove back to do showings for this couple, and it's a 3.5-hour drive. I drove back to show them houses and then drove back again. And instead of just showing up and making it about them, I made it all about myself and how far I had driven for them and how busy I was, because I was trying to show them how important they were to me. But instead, they bought a house with an open house agent because I wasn't showing them the attention they needed. Fun story about them, I actually ended up selling their house later this last year because I stayed in touch with them and I didn't let this like totally ruin my whole day. But that is a real screenshot of someone telling me that they didn't want to work with me because of the way that I essentially presented myself. That same night, I locked my keys in my car, and it was a really bad day. I cried a lot. So I switched to just posting on my own personal account. If you follow me, it's a huge mix of my life and my real estate agent. I am not an agent that has a life. I am a person that is also an agent. And I think you really get that if you follow me. These are all just screenshots of people replying to my stories. Like, this is my hairdresser. It's just people supporting what I'm posting. I did find that people really love authenticity. People like when you post the ups and the downs. Nobody honestly likes to see someone just win. That's just not very interesting to them. So I post a little bit of everything, or if I'm trying a new tactic in a market, I post about it because people are interested to see how that shows up. There's the 20-80 rule. And in this, that applies that 10% of people are going to love and support you no matter what. You're always going to have 10% of people that are your diehard lovers. 10% of people are going to not like you no matter what you do. There's nothing you could do that could appeal to them because of something about yourself. But there's about 80% of the market that you could convince that you could mesh with them. And so when you post, just post what you like. I'd rather someone not like me up front and never reach out than reach out and like figure out halfway through that they don't like me. You will attract who you're meant to attract. I follow a couple like realtor moms that are not exactly the type of person that I would like necessarily work with, but they do a ton of volume with other moms and people in that space. And I know that none of those clients would probably ever be my clients. I just attract different people. And then with my sphere of influence, which you saw in the beginning, I do have a pretty good reach out rate from my sphere of influence, but that did not start happening until I started posting on Instagram. I've had about 4 people that were technically in my sphere, but only reached out to me basically in a reply through Instagram, or like reached out to me because of what I was posting. They probably forgot I existed if it wasn't for that. Okay, so my third problem was who I surrounded myself with. Because I was a low performer and I didn't have a lot of stats, yeah, you can read my first one. There was a group of like 4 or 5, yeah, don't post this one either, I don't want them to know. There was like 4 or 5 other agents in my market that we would meet and literally just complain. We would just complain about the latest clients, the latest people, and like it was always just a bitch session, and we would call it a mastermind. I was like, this isn't a fucking mastermind. And it wasn't until being in this room that I saw what that was really like. But because I was too busy being jealous of the people that were performing high, I couldn't actually interact with them or network with them because I was so worried about who I was with. And it just felt good to be surrounded by other people that weren't doing very many deals, because then it wasn't my fault, it was the market's fault. Because look, we all weren't doing well. Reading books and like reading things on mindset is great, but being in the actual room with people is like what makes the biggest difference. So being at Real Estate Rockstars it made me realize two things. One, that a lot of people, their best year had been 2023. And that was such a mindset shift for me, because I was surrounded by people who thought that it was 2023's fault that we didn't do well, it wasn't their fault. And it also opened my eyes to the fact that I could be friends with these people. If you were here last year, you got an email from me in the following weeks afterwards asking to do a Zoom call because I wanted to interact with every single person here. And that, again, it just really helped me realize that these people can be my friends. And through that, I've been able to reach out to other high performers in my market. That's how I got open houses. That's how I have referrals out. I've gotten referrals from other agents that live 30 minutes away because they don't want to drive that far and they'd rather give it to me. And I didn't go in wanting that. That's just something that it came because of an abundance mindset. I joined a coaching program, which is my next. So I didn't have any money. I put the ticket that I bought to be here today was on layaway because I did not have the money to buy it up front. I did not have the money to do a coaching class or a coaching course, but my husband basically said, you got to figure it out. You got to shit or get off the pot. And this is a screenshot of me saying, hey, I finally got the credit card I need to pay for this coaching program. And so I did. And I paid that off a couple months after I bought it, which was really cool. Okay, so my fourth problem was my safety net. Whew, this is a big vulnerable one for me too. So I was at a Tom Ferry conference last year, shortly after this mastermind, and he said, which I tried to Google this quote, and it's not anywhere, it's just something he said, that most people earn what they need and not what they want. And I realized that that is what I had been doing. My husband at the time had a W-2 job. He was an engineer. He made about $120,000. We house hacks, we don't have a mortgage, and I just didn't have this need to do better. I thought that we were fine, like our expenses were covered. And there were two big things that happened last year that made me realize that I do need to make more money. One is that, so vivid. In March of last year, after we got back from this, my husband and I go to couples therapy. We have since we got married. As you can hear from my background, I don't have a good marriage to look up to. And so it was something that was really important to me before we got married that we immediately went into it just for like maintenance and to establish communication. And we were in counseling in March of last year, and my husband's very quiet, if you ever met him. He's not very good at expressing himself. And so my therapist was asking us questions, or our therapist was asking us questions about our stressors and how we were feeling. And it was in that session that I found out we had about 2 to 3 months left of expenses because he had quit in July of 2022. I'm sorry, this is March 2024 that we had this discussion. He had quit in July of 2023 to do his own entrepreneurial journey, and he had been supporting me up until that time, and the expectation was that I would then be able to support us, and I wasn't doing that. But it was in that session I found out we had about 3 months worth of expenses saved up, which I should have known. He told me at some point. And she was able to help him form the sentence to me that he needed me to make more money. That if I did not start making money, that he would have to go back and get a job, which wasn't fair because he had given me the opportunity and I hadn't taken it. And that hit me really, really hard. I wanted to be that for him, and so that turned into my need. And then in that same time frame, actually at this event last year, you probably saw me crying out in the lobby because one of my dogs was having some pretty severe spinal issues. And the quote to get a surgery for her was $15,000 to $20,000, and we didn't even have enough money for a mortgage. And so we didn't know how we were gonna pay for that. And the conversation of money versus saving our dog's life had come up, and I said, there's no fucking way I will ever choose money over saving my dog's life. And so between saving my marriage and saving my dog, I had to start working way, way, way harder. Unfortunately, she ended up passing in September of this last year. Not because we couldn't afford the surgery, we could, which felt really, really good. It was from complications. But we did everything we could to get there. And those were my two big needs. And I can just say, if you're starting off or if you want to build up, don't wait until your marriage and your dog's life is in the hangs to start working hard. It feels good to be better up front. Okay, this is a video. This is a screenshot from a video I took. Actually, Chris, I FaceTimed you the same day. I had closed my first real transaction May 1st of last year, and the amount of relief, like I'm crying in this video. It's 50-second video of me crying because I could feel the relief wash over me. I had made as much in that one paycheck as I had all of 2023. And I knew that that was just like the start of me gonna kill it. And I can't explain the amount of relief unless you've been there with your back against the wall and you knew that, like we had until I got my commission May 1st, before we were out of money. Like we had savings, but whatever, not those. Like until we were out of our runway. And it just felt really, really good. Okay. So recap, I won't sit here and read all of this, but daily positive affirmations make a huge difference. If you're not succeeding in the way that you want to right now, then just start telling yourself what you're going to accomplish. And then I'm almost done to my 5 minutes. These are lessons that I learned along the way that I actually wrote in my notes as I was going through this. So I made some of these notes in April of last year. My first one is listen more than you talk. This is another, I have 5 minutes. This is another conversation of someone telling me that they did not want to work with me because they were never interested in house hacking, but that was the direction you brought up several times because I could not shut the fuck up. I just wanted to tell everybody what I thought they wanted to hear. So several deals I lost out on last year because I wouldn't shut up. Well, I cried after that. My second one, I wrote this after those clients that I had showed houses to after driving back bought with someone else. I said, hey, no one owes you shit. Not your friends, not your family, not your past clients, no one. You have to earn every single piece of business you get, and you have to treat every piece of business you get like you earned it. Do not take advantage. If your sister works with you, she could have worked with a million other people. You treat her like gold. If you are not following up, a better agent is 100% of the time. This last year, I had the opportunity to be that better agent a couple times and steal some clients, but I've definitely had clients taken from me. My fourth one, don't brag about how busy you are. People don't want to inconvenience you. That's what it is. They don't want to bother you. If you're too busy, they don't want to ruin your time. My last one is post your ups and downs. People want to see you win. So this last year, I won the Breakthrough Agent Award in my brokerage, which means I just did the largest amount of volume year over year. And it was almost embarrassing to post because it's also admitting that you sucked the year before. But people want to see that. If you say a goal of I want to sell 20 houses this year, then people want to see you succeed. Post your goals. People are interested in that part, not just the end when you win. And yeah, that's it. Thanks. Thanks, Ernesto.
All right, mic runners, be ready. Can you guys hear me? Well, that was awesome.
I can't believe I did it.
Dude, you crushed it. You crushed it for no notice. Your timer, you went right there. We do have time for a few minutes of questions or just telling Nicole what you thought or something good out of it. You know, what's really great in an environment like this is if somebody said something that you wrote down and you're going to take home and you're going to change your business, right? You earn what you need, not what you want, and being able to change that. If that was one of those things you wrote down, it's a great time before you ask a question to say hey, something you said that I'm bringing home with me is this. Because if it meant something to you, it could mean something to someone else, and it's going to help them as they remember. Hopefully you guys can see now why I wanted Nicole to kick this off, as I got to see her growth over the last year and everything that she's been doing, going from 2 transactions as she came in last year. And when she came in last year, she felt a little bit like she didn't belong. She felt a little bit like an imposter, why am I here even as she was doing it? And I was so glad that you made the effort to come out last year to do that. So who's got questions or comments for Nicole?
Please just raise your hand and speak somebody with the microphone will come to you.
That's my Instagram, by the way. I would love to connect with you. If you can follow and send a message, I would love to follow everyone back who I'm not already connected with. Because like I said, I had my other account last year, so you might not even actually follow me on this account from this year. Hi, Kevin.
Nicole.
Hi, beautiful.
Hello, beautiful. So I love that you are back. I love that you are bragging about your successes. You said a few things that kind of remind me of a book maybe you heard of it, the gap and the gain or something like that, right? Where a lot of us focus on that gap and we don't take the time to look back and see just how far we've gained, right? So I do the same thing, and I'm sure there's people in this room who do that as well. So I just want to clap for you, and you've gone so far in such a short period of time, so give yourself credit, give yourself grace, keep crushing it, and I hope to see you next year.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And that was Kevin from Temple, Texas.
Hey, Nicole. Brandon from Baltimore. My biggest takeaway for what you said was you earn what you need, not what you want. I can identify that so much, literally the last 5 years of my life, but you really inspired me because I guess why you came to this event last year is exactly why I came to this event this year. So I'm hoping I 10x that, but I knew, and I should have, money was an issue. I moved to Atlanta, came back, a lot of stuff, but I should have been at this event last year, and my business reflected that this year. So this motivates me. I got here, I was on the payment plan, I still got here, but thank you so much for sharing that story because it just shows me where I'll be a year from now. I just know it, and I get to hear from you, so thank you.
That's awesome,
Cool.
dude.
All right, one more.
Hello, Christina Leavenworth from Pensacola. And first of all, thank you for being so raw. That was just a lot, you put out there, and I think it helped everyone in the room. But I wanted to point out what a drastic transformation from being a negative affirmation person to a positive one. And I was wondering if you had some sort of routine that you started with, because most people just don't wake up and start saying all those things. So I'd like to hear about your process.
Well, printing that versus just having it on my phone, because it sucks to look at a blue screen right away. So I'd say print it and then just keep it on your bedside table. Say it before you go to bed, say it when you wake up. And I had to say it when I woke up every morning because I was so used to waking up and literally just being like, God, you fucking loser. Like, those were for real, like, not kidding, some of the worst, like, first words I said to myself. And I used it as a way to motivate myself, but all I was doing was convincing myself that that's who I was. So I just wanted to be a different person. I visualized myself speaking on the stage last year when I was here and I saw all of you guys. I said, I can do that next year, and the only way I'm going to do that is if I become the person that I saw on the stage. So I don't know if that's an answer, but.
Yeah, I was going to try to find the screenshot when I said, like, hey, I should have you speak, and you actually sent me a screenshot of, like, your note, like, right after leaving last year about speaking here this year.
I did say no thank you. When Aaron said you should speak, I said, no thank you.
And she wrote down the affirmation of, like, what she would say if she spoke it next year before she had actually closed that deal in May.
Yeah.
So she hadn't even closed a deal yet when she started planning for how big her comeback was going to be, that she was going to be here speaking.
All of these notes were written. I'm pretty sure I wrote every single one of these except for the last one before I closed a first deal. Like, I started, because I saw Caitlin take screenshots and I saw people posting it, and I said, when I speak next year, I'm going to have to know what I was thinking at the time. So I just started documenting it. So document yourself like you're going to be presenting a presentation next year and see what happens. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites here. When you're like, hey, did you clear? Like, yeah, we bought a house. And you're like, well, what happened? They're like, we wanted something totally different. And you're like, I just had to ask.
Yeah.
You're like, they did buy a house. They were real. That was awesome. Thanks again, Nicole.
Thank y'all.
All right, real estate rock stars. So hopefully you guys loved hearing one of our speakers from last month's mastermind. If you are considering joining us for next year, now is the time to sign up. We're only going to have ticket sales for the next 30 to 45 days. And after that, we cut it off so that way we can focus on providing value and not selling tickets. So for the event this next year, February 25th to 27th in Austin, Texas, if you're interested in getting a ticket, you can go to realestaterockstarsmastermind.com. And if you want to chat with me about anything, as always, come find me on Instagram at Aaron Amuchastegui. Thanks for listening.